All right. I'm going to read the last chapter of The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. Remember, Edward has been gone from Abilene for a long, long time. He was on a boat and then got thrown over. Abilene was able to hang on to his pocket watch. And the ending of this has a very, very, very happy ending, but this has been years and years and years. You can probably guess what's going to happen. I will tell you, it's such a happy ending. I get teary. This is about my third try trying to read this without just kind of crying and not being able to read because it's so happy. I just can't help it. So, here's to getting through this in one shot. Here we go. Seasons passed, fall and winter and spring and summer. Leaves blew in through the open door of Lucius Clark's shop, and rain and the green, outrageous, hopeful light of spring. People came and went, grandmothers and doll collectors and little girls with their mothers. Edward Tulane waited. The seasons turned into years. Edward Tulane waited. He repeated the old doll's words over and over until they wore a smooth groove of hope in his brain. Someone will come. Someone will come for you. And the old doll was right. Someone did come. It was springtime. It was raining. There were dogwood blossoms on the floor of Lucius Clark's shop. She was a small girl, maybe 5 years old, and while her mother struggled to close a blue umbrella, the little girl walked around the store, stopping and staring solemnly at each doll, and then moving on. When she came to Edward, she stood in front of him for what seemed like a long time. She looked at him, and he looked back at her. "Someone will come," Edward said. "Someone will come for me." The girl smiled, and then she stood on her tiptoes and took Edward off the shelf. She cradled him in her arms. She held him in the same ferocious, tender way Sarah Ruth had held him. "Oh," thought Edward, "I remember this." "Madam," said Lucius Clark, "could you please attend to your daughter? She's holding a very fragile, very precious, quite expensive doll." "Maggie," said the woman. She looked up from the still open umbrella. "What have you got?" "A rabbit," said Maggie. "A what?" said the mother. "A rabbit," said Maggie again. "I want him." "Remember, we're not buying anything today. We're looking only," said the woman. "Madam," said Lucius Clark, "please." The woman came and stood over Maggie. She looked down at Edward. The rabbit felt dizzy. He wondered for a minute if his head had cracked open again, if he was dreaming. "Look, Mama," said Maggie. "Look at him." "I see him," said the woman. She dropped the umbrella. She put her hand on the locket that hung around her neck, and Edward saw then that it was not a locket at all. It was a watch. A pocket watch. Who is this? This lady, who is it? I bet you know. It was his watch. "Edward?" said Abilene. "Yes," said Edward. "Edward," she said again, certain this time. "Yes," said Edward. "Yes, yes, yes, it's me." I made it through. I didn't completely lose it. Oh, it just makes me so happy that Abilene and Edward get to be back together, and that now Edward understands how much it is to really have someone who loves you, because he can love people too. Now, at the very end, there's a section that's called a CUDA. It just kind of means that they've written just a little bit more, and I'll read that to you too. It says, it's kind of like they're wrapping up the whole story as far as what happened. Okay, it's kind of a summary. Once there was a China rabbit who was loved by a little girl. The rabbit went on an ocean journey and fell overboard and was rescued by a fisherman. He was buried under garbage and unburied by a dog. He traveled for a long time with the hobos and worked for a short time as a scarecrow. Once there was a rabbit who loved a little girl and watched her die. The rabbit danced on the streets of Memphis. His head was broken open in a diner and was put together again by a doll mender. And the rabbit swore that he would not make the mistake of loving again. Once there was a rabbit who danced in a garden in springtime with the daughter of a woman who had loved him at the beginning of his journey. The girl swung the rabbit as she danced in circles. Sometimes they went so fast, the two of them, that it seemed as if they were flying. Sometimes it seemed as if they both had wings. Once, oh marvelous once, there was a rabbit who found his way home. So that's why it's one of my favorite books, because Edward learns what it means to really love and be loved. So you kind of have to understand that after all those years that Abilene had her own daughter, but she always had that locket on her neck from Edward. So it's a really good book. I hope you enjoyed it.